saying, but welcome to Tuesday Talks. I'm Darleen. My special guest today is Sheri, and I hope I said that name right. If I didn't, you can correct me. Now, she's from Sheri's Creative Works and the Reinvention Playbook, which sounds really exciting. I want to know more about that. Now, her background is in finance in large and small companies for over 30 years. Oh, you only look young. She's concurrently supported women through transitioning major life crises. What she found was that it is actually the beginning of an inspired life that your higher self is calling for. Now, I just love all this. And we're going to talk about art and creativity in the business world, which of course is one of my favorite topics. Like, can you tell? So welcome.
Obvious.
No. Oh, welcome. So, yeah, is there any more that you would like to say about yourself? Because I'd love to know more, of course. I'm curious.
Well, you pronounced my name correctly. It is Sheri.
Oh, good.
You did that well. And as she mentioned, I've spent over 30 years in the finance arena of the business world. And so I spent a lot of time locked up in that left brain side, analytical and that linear. And I'm a basic creative at heart. So it was being that round peg in a square hole.
Yep.
And so that was its own challenges. And I really needed to have those vacations so I could break out of that. And when I always knew that I could breathe when I'd be either out in nature, or I'd be doing something creative, traveling or something. And I was surrounded by the creativity of others. And it's like, oh, a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, isn't it? And I would actually love to know your definition of creativity, because when you say creativity, everyone goes, oh, I'm not an artist. I can't do this and I can't do that. Well, I've got a definition, but I'd love to know yours.
Well, I'd say that, yes, creating anything, whether it could be in the kitchen, it could be the garden, it could be knitting, which is also one of my favorites, or crocheting, making something, sewing. And I mean, each of those have their own form of art.
Yeah.
Or a photographer or an author, which I also am. And so it's got a lot of breadth to it.
Yeah.
And
sorry, go ahead. You can tell I'm excited.
In one way, it's almost just the opposite of that linear, straight line thinking kind of person. Anything outside that is creative.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. And I love to say that creativity is whatever brings you joy. Now, I've got a friend who loves Excel spreadsheets, and she can just, she's so creative with them and actually makes them, you actually want to have a look at it because it actually feels good. And so whatever brings you joy is creativity. And so I'd actually love to know more about your reinvention playbook.
Well, my reinvention playbook has a lot to do with how I work with clients in that they are at one point in their life, for any one of a number of different reasons. It could be a major life change, such as a divorce, or maybe they're retiring, or the kids have left home. And it's that sense of now what? And what we get to do is explore the now what. And it in itself is very much a creative journey. And everyone's journey is unique and different. And we take advantage of just creating a new life plan for the person who's looking to do something new and different.
Yeah, I love that because thankfully for me, I'd actually started a hobby before the universe actually basically kicked me out of my career. Because I'd actually said for 10 years, oh yeah, I need to leave, I need to leave. And then the universe goes, that's it, we're sick of here and there you go. But thankfully I had the hobby, so I can understand that if people haven't got something when something happens, then they go, well, what do I do now? So having someone like you would be amazing.
And I appreciate that. And sometimes when we're busy raising children or we have a career, we identify
Mm,
so closely with that
mm,
role that that is who we have
mhm,
become. And we have lost track of, what do I like to do for
mhm,
fun? What are my hobbies?
mm,
How do I get along without being Joey's mom,
mm,
or the, so and so at this company?
mhm. Yeah.
So it is really a journey that starts with sometimes just learning how to play again.
Mm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, and you've really hit the nail on the head because I had a 30-year healthcare field career, and I didn't understand that that was actually my identity. I didn't understand that, and I thought, oh yeah, I do other things like I have fun because I volunteer and all that, but that was still all part of my identity. And until I actually left and then started doing a counselling course, I went, oh. Oh, and that's where, art came into it and actually helped me really understand who I was and the fact that I wanted to turn my hobby into an actual business. And like,
Yeah.
that was cool. And so with your clients, do you help them with art or anything like that?
Well,
Yeah.
usually I don't per se help them with
Mhm,
art. What we usually do is explore what they may have found joy in when they
mhm,
were younger,
mm,
or even as a child. And, some of it is maybe daydreaming or meditating, finding that time to really look deep in their soul as to what resonates with
mm,
them, what's fun.
mm,
And that's almost its own exploration. And it could be exploring an art form.
mm,
And, art comes in so many different forms. For instance, my own journey after I left the finance world was I went back to college and took some fashion design and photography classes.
ooh,
And I loved fashion. I worked for
mm,
a retailer at one point, so I just loved the fashion world. And I did a little bit of designing and playing with color
mm,
and paints and things of that nature. And it was a guided journey in that regard. And so there was this sense of freedom and fun and experimentation in just that, doing my homework. I mean, who knew homework could be that much fun?
yeah, yeah.
And for years, I have taken photographs, whether it was at events with friends or when I would go on vacation. And I had, I don't know, thousands and thousands of photographs of places I've been and people I've been with. And being able to tweak
Mm,
uh, my some of the technical things of an art form that I had been doing just intuitively
mm,
was really a joyful experience.
mm. Yeah, it is. And I can actually understand what you said about fashion and photography because when I left high school, I did a fashion course. I was going to be a fashion designer. And I love taking photos as well. And I love how you mentioned intuitive because I really think the ones that really tap into their intuition are the ones that can just they don't need to think about something. They know, they just literally put their camera up and take a snap and know that it's going to be a great photo. And then you can edit and make, different things and make it even like a different photo. But that intuition is so important.
Yes. Yeah. And whether it's in any art form, whether it's like your painting, or I've started to do some coloring, kind of using an adult coloring book, the ones that don't have the cartoon characters in. And so just putting together colors, to a degree, it's intuitive now, but of course that intuition has been channeled a little bit by some of the training that I've received, or the things that I see in nature or through my camera. And so it's playing with the texture of the color, the brilliance of the color, and I could go on for days.
You can. But it's so good though, isn't it? Like and that's creativity, finding your joy. Like that is your joy. And that actually transfers over into business, which a lot of people don't understand. So how does it transfer over for you?
Well, interestingly enough, when I was in the finance world, I got to a point where I had to do briefing charts. I had to make presentations. And of course, some of the most dull presentations you can ever imagine are those solely numbers.
Yep.
So finding a way to represent numbers or statistics or events in a way that the audience gets the point and isn't bored to tears and misses what you're focusing on is a creative art form. So, that was one creative method that exists in business today, as does writing and how you put the story together. It's maybe how you do the marketing. And if you're an entrepreneur, we have tools. So just go post on social media. Well, what do you post? A photo and some words. And how do you make the words sing with the photo? And that's art and that's business. There are just endless examples. Our product creation is many times a creative effort. And the marketing and the advertising is also very much a creative effort.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't think about that, because when we're in our business and we've got to post on social media, or we've got to do some marketing, we're like, oh, do we have to? But when you bring that intuition, that joy into it, it changes. It really does. And I love how you said story, because every post can be a story, unless it's a strict question. It can be a story, and that's important as well. And so how do you do that? Do you do stories with your posts?
Well, I do some of them in different ways. And some of the posts that I have are blogs, which are my newsletter. And I usually do a newsletter which talks about something that I've been doing, whether it's been creative or a thought process, or one thing or another, and kind of tell a story with it. And then start to ask the question, how are you doing this? Or what about you? What's going on with you in regards to this? And is that working? And do you need help? And then when I do a blog post, I find a picture which is, kind of draws you in to the story. So, that's one of the ways that I do that. right now I'm writing a workbook to go with my book. And the workbook has personal stories in it. So I talk a little bit about a situation that I went through and then outline the point that I'm trying to make through the story and then offer some exercises with it. So there are lots of ways of doing stories.
Yeah, and I love how you said that, because you don't really think about all the different ways you can do stories. And, that's my brain's just now kicked in and gone, oh, it's trying to give me ideas.
Yeah,
And it's like, no, later, please, later.
yeah. There are so many ways. You can tell a story solely in words. Or sometimes there's that quote that someone has said, a significant quote that you can leave as its own story, or you can put it in a background that enhances the story that's being told. And I've seen so many creative ways that people have done the same quote. And it's like, I want to learn how to do that.
It is, yeah. And I love creating my own quotes, because there's great quotes out there. But I'm in business. It's actually about my quotes. And, just talking about creativity, that's what I did yesterday. I've already created a beautiful template for quotes, put my quote up there, and I went, oh, that was easy. So once you've done the beautiful creativity and got templates, it actually makes things easier.
Yes. And when we're doing social media, that desire to be consistent, so the consistency gets that know, like, and trust factor in enticing someone to do business with that.
Yeah, and that's, you're right. And I love how, because we're creative, we can do posts different that actually then show up, and when people see it, they go, oh, and they do then engage, because we're not just, creating the same post as everybody else. We are doing it differently.
Yes, because it's of us. It's a piece of us. It's a piece of art that we've created, and we're using it in our business. And sometimes the greatest compliment is when someone else wants to borrow it.
Yeah.
And of course, as long as they give us attribution for it, that's fine.
Yeah, and that's where I encourage people to, and I say, look, if you love this so much, then please share it so that people can actually come back to my page, because I love to emphasize the fact that share is better than just copying the picture or whatever and then posting it. It's much better to actually just share.
Yes. And when I write, sometimes I will reference a book or an individual. And what I do is put one of the latest things that I did was reference The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And what I did then was just link it to where on Amazon someone could learn more about the book itself. And so I was able to enhance the individual that I was referencing.
Yeah, I love that, because that just feels so ethical to me, because that's one of my values, is ethics. And I just love how you do that. And I do the same. Like, if I'm chatting about someone, I will actually also tag them and go, hey, chatting about you. And it's so great to be able to do that kind of stuff. And that, even though people might think, hang on, it is actually creative, because we're being intuitive and creative by going, look, this is what I found, and this is who I actually found it from. I gained insight from them.
Yes, exactly. And I'm a product of the various learnings that I've had and the teachings I've received over time, and being able to give someone else credit is a compliment as well as being the ethical thing to do.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I love all this. Now, I would love for you to actually talk about your playbook, your reinvention playbook. What is that?
Well, I don't have an actual book.
Oh,
What it is more than anything is the concept of reinvention. One day
oh,
I'll write the book, but I have a book, a best-selling book that I did write called Everything I Learned About Life. I learned on vacation.
oh,
So it's got a lot of travel vignettes, and then it has lessons learned out of the situation. It's put together in a manner that goes through the processes of taking a vacation. You know, you get the idea, you have the plan, you prepare for it, you go on the vacation, then you reflect on it, and you come home with or without the vacation, the post-vacation blues.
Yes.
And it's, you know, the way that you do a lot of things in life. It's the same kind of process that you can emulate, but going on vacation infuses fun into what could otherwise be a very dry process. And so it in its own way is a reinvention of how you do planning.
Yeah, I never thought about that actually. That's a really good point. Like, because you're right, when you plan a vacation, there is like steps to it. And yeah, those steps you could even relate to your business to actually help you bring more joy into your business, because that's something that I am so passionate about, is having fun and joy in your business, because it's meant to be like that. Yeah, there's moments where things are serious, but the more that you raise your energy to that vibration, you send that out and people feel that and they actually want to be attracted to you. Like they feel it and they want to find you.
Yes. Yeah. And the more fun that you have and the more excitement that you can generate for yourself as you are engaged in what you're doing, the more you do attract people because they want to be part of that energy.
Yeah. And so that's where creativity comes into it, because creativity is joy. So the more we can do that in whatever way is right for us, and I really emphasize that fact, we've got to find what's right for us, then that's how we bring it in. So if you're like, you might be doing a social media post and you can feel your energy just going, oh, then you stop and you go away and you do something creative, bring that back in, and then come back to the post.
Exactly. And some of the things that I'm kind of in this challenge to do 30 days of consistent Facebook posting. And I haven't been quite that consistent ever in the past. So now I'm looking at how can I refine the process of doing that. And I'm looking now to, well, I have this vast library of photographic images. So how can I pull some of the images and marry it with either the Reinvention Playbook logic or with my book, the travel vignettes, and put the two of them together and create stories and enticing posts. So that's probably the next adventure that I'm going to be going on in the next couple of days.
Oh, and I love how you said adventure, because what you're doing is you're looking at these posts as an adventure. And that I want to, like, people stop right now and write that down, is it's an adventure. Like your social media can be an adventure if you allow yourself to just go into that, that whole process.
Yes. Yeah. And it's, you can instill that same thinking in every aspect of your business. And there are some of them that, at times can become very tedious, whether, maybe your bookkeeping or your accounting. And that's one of the things that as business people, we really have to understand what the numbers do say. And the numbers speak in a language that if you can get someone to teach you the language of the numbers, then what is something that might be scary can become something that maybe it's not joyful. But if the bottom line is nice, it certainly can be. And then you can understand what it means. It's a new journey. Even though you have maybe somebody else putting it together for you, we as business owners still have the responsibility to understand what it says.
Yeah, and that just makes so much sense. Like finances has always been one of those things that I've sort of looked at and gone, oh. But when you actually look at it and you go, okay, so bringing that money in means that, I can have that software, I can do this, I can do that. Okay, then I've got money put away, so if something happens, I've got money to still be able to do all that kind of stuff. And you can make it exciting and you can be creative with it. You can go, okay, so, okay, how much money do I want to put away so that I can do that? How much money do I need? Oh, and then you can actually see it grow and you can really turn things around. And that's what I've had to learn to do, is turn it around and go, well, actually, finances can be fun. It's the way we look at it, which is creativity.
Exactly. Oh, you've done such a great job in explaining all that. I'll have to remember some of your examples.
Yeah, it's something that we've got to do for ourselves, because we can have great financial people who come in and who can help us, but it is up to us to then look at our numbers and see what we can actually do with them and why. Number one, why are we in business? Well, we are in business to earn money. Like, that's one of it. So, okay, we're in business to earn money, then how can I make that fun?
Yes.
Mm.
And the product that we have may be something creative, but bottom line, we're still in business to make money. And so that's probably the epitome of how creativity, art, and business work together.
Yes, yeah, and that is a perfect note to end this amazing conversation on, which I could talk forever.
Yes, I could too. It has been so delightful to chat with you today.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And for anyone watching, please go and check Sheri out, because, like, she's really, as you can tell, she's amazing. And in the description, I've got all the links, including to her book. So we'll make sure that everything's in there. And yeah, thank you again so much for your time. It's been absolutely amazing. And if you're following, please don't forget to subscribe, share this episode so that everyone can get to know about Sheri as well. Like, how cool would that be?
Thank you so much for letting me be here.
You're very welcome.